Great night ahead. And listen, we're doing this a week without Greg Millen. There have been a lot of stories shared. The best way to understand Millsy and what he meant to us over 30 years at Hockey Night in Canada is to go back to his great 14-year playing career and hear from some of those who were teammates. And we'll do that, celebrating Millsy on Hockey Central after the break.
This series has obviously enhanced your reputation. You got the chance, and you made the most of it. And I guess you have to thank the coach for having the confidence in you, right?
No question. You know, Jacques' been great to me and all his players all year. He's a real player's man, and Jacques and Barkley have a tremendous amount to do with the way we're playing, and they deserve a lot of credit. And you know, it's been a lot of fun. And this is the first time I've been on Hockey Night in Canada, so I want to say hi to Mom and Dad in Toronto and all my in-laws in Peterborough, because I've never had a chance to do it.
Well, you've expressed a preference in the past to me privately that you would like to do this for a living when the hockey is over, but there's a lot of goaltending to go on.
So an incredible interview. Dave Hodge and Greg Millen's been airing a lot this week. Bernie, you know all about the heroics of Greg Millen against Toronto in the second round of the Stanley Cup 1986. But let me start with the guy in the Hartford windbreaker there, Colin Campbell, Senior VP of the National Hockey League. Colin, it's all week long he's been talking his whole life about you, Greg Millen. But yeah, to hear the stories of the connection you have. And Bernie, for those who don't know, he was the roommate. Greg considers the 5 years in St. Louis high point of his career. His roommate is the Hall of Famer Bernie Federko, who wouldn't necessarily protect the house or block a shot, but if Greg ever had an off night and gave up 4 or 5, Bernie would get you 6. So nice to have you both. Coley, why don't you start? Just a story or two about what made Greg such a special individual.
Well, I knew Greg from our hockey school days with Roger Nilsson before he turned pro, and you know, as Bernie will attest to, he was kind of a pain in the neck, young, cocky guy, but humble at the same time. And next thing you know, he showed up at Pittsburgh's camp, and he rubbed a few of the veterans the wrong way, but it's hard to get mad at Millsy. He brought things that you never saw before. And one was he could handle the puck. We'd skate around the start of practice, and he'd have a hockey stick, not a goalie stick, and he'd be handling the puck. And when the puck hit the post, he'd back up and rub the post. And of course, you don't do that back in those days. And but he's the type of guy that could deal with it. Him and Randy Carlyle would be going at each other all the time. Randy, of course, famous for being a successful coach and winning a cup in Anaheim, but also a real good defenseman in Pittsburgh and Winnipeg. And so Greg's been around, and people forget back then there was 78, 79 when he broke in, there were 17 teams, and he was middle of the pack as far as a goaltender at that time. And so you've got to think of top 12 goalies being in the middle of the pack at least in the world. So not only do people know him and should know him not only as a great personality on TV, but as a good athlete, a good goaltender. And Bernie could tell you that, what he did in St. Louis.
Go ahead, Bernie.
Yeah, you know what? The thing with Greg, I mean, he came into St. Louis with a lot of pressure on him. I mean, obviously, he was traded for Mike Liut, and Mike was kind of our backstopper. He had such great years here with the Blues. And I think when Millsy came in, it was a kind of a tough position for him to be. And we were Harry Ornest was our owner. There was a lot of crazy things that were going on here during those times. But Millsy came in and he fit in. He was perfect for what we had here. I always talk about goaltenders. I mean, some of them are, for the most part, most of them are a little different. I mean, call them what they are. They are kind of in a different class in themselves. The way they act, the way they are kind of to themselves and this and that. And Millsy was totally the opposite. He was one of those guys that wanted to be with us all the time. I mean, he was the greatest personality, loved to compete in practice, loved to go out and have a cold beer after practice or whatever he wanted to do, but he was always there and always having a lot of fun. And no one worked harder than him. And I mean, we had both him and Rick Wamsley were kind of the duo that we had, and they couldn't have been better for each other. I mean, when one guy had a bad game or one guy had a good game, they were always so supportive of each other. And I was fortunate that I got to room with Millsy, and we had so much fun. I mean, talked about a lot of things, obviously on the road when, as you say, when times were tough for either one of us, we had support for each other, and I couldn't have been more lucky to have a guy that was always on my side and was there, when I needed some encouragement, and I was there for him the same way. So I mean, it was just a great relationship, and we had great success in '85, '86, going to the the semifinals, losing to Calgary in 7 games, and Millsy was a huge part of it, especially that series against Toronto.
How did you handle it as you're the superstar forward, he's the goaltender, so two key, and you're right, Rick Wamsley, I mean, they were just 2 great interviews for those of us in broadcasting, and 2 great goaltenders. How did you handle it? Like, did you give him the remote control? Did he want to read, hear music? What was he like as a roommate?
Ron, he was not like that. He kind of, I was the older guy. I'm older by a year, but I had been here longer. So it was kind of the thing that Millsy just went with the flow. I mean, it was kind of, I didn't like to have the TV on when we were going to sleep. So he didn't have a problem with that. I would shut the TV off. I mean, I had the remote control, and whatever I wanted to watch, he was willing to watch it. So, I mean, he was probably the most easygoing guy. What do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? Do you want to have room service? What do you want to order? It was all the same thing. So he was really, really easy to get along with. And that's why we had so much fun. I mean, we would, after games, sometimes come back, Ron, and especially in Toronto, we'd order a bunch of food from Saiwoo's, and the guys would even deliver it. We'd have enough food for everybody on the team after they come back from the bar. At the end of the night, they'd come over to our room and we would have Chinese food. But he was just the easiest guy. He was the easiest roommate that I could possibly had, and I think that's why we had so much fun. That
makes me think of Dan Kelly, your legendary broadcaster too, and the love of the Chinese food, right? Coley, obviously, Roger Nielsen be a huge imprint. I mean, Ron Francis lives with Greg and Ann when he breaks in with the Hartford Whalers. All this leadership, all this mentorship we talk about with Greg, where's that come from?
Well, I think it's just Greg was born with it, and he naturally flowed to people like Roger and Dick Todd, Gary Green. People might say the Peterborough Mafia, but Greg was one of them. And Bob Gainey, he talked to Bob a lot in Peterborough over the years. He was interested in the Petes, commuting back to Peterborough, doing his broadcasting job. But with everything he had going on at home, 4 kids, Annie there with the 4 kids, Allie, Emily, Caroline, and Charlie. He always had a moment for you. He never said no. When I was coaching the Rangers or working with the league, there's lots of tough moments, and you can call up Millsy and make your day brighter and bounce things off of him. He was never bouncing things off of you. If he wasn't in hockey, he would have been a good therapist, Ron.
That's right. Well, it's funny. When he coached the novice AAA, Steve Larmer, Ed Arnold, and Greg coached Charlie. Charlie was a goaltender like his dad, but they would share the goaltender role for the 2 goalies. Mitch was the other goalie. They called him Thrills, and they called Charlie Gloves. They would split right down the middle, overtime, games, everything. And that's maybe from the Wamsley days, Bernie, I don't know. But just the last thought on that, his goaltending. I mean, as Chris Cuthbert mentioned the other night, he led the league in saves twice. He led the league in shutouts one year. And we just saw his heroics in that interview with Dave Hodge.
Yeah, Ron, he was, I guess, more of an athletic goaltender. I mean, goaltending has changed so much. I mean, the guys are so big now. The equipment seems big. But those days, I mean, Millsy was small. I mean, he was not a big guy. But I think he was very athletic. I mean, he was one of those guys, as Coley said, he handled the puck very well. Some of a lot of the guys then didn't, but certainly all the guys do now. But he was always, he was always in position. And when he got out of position, I think when you looked at him, the way he played, he made those spectacular saves that you would never think he would get to, because he was out of position, but he was able to dive back in there and just use his athletic ability. And I think that's what made him so much fun. And he was really certainly a crowd favorite. Whenever time he was in there, I mean, he was moving. He was in constant motion all the time. I mean, the music was playing. He was dancing back there. The puck was at the other end. He was always in constant motion. And he always made the save at the right time. And I think that's the whole thing with goaltending. If you don't have to save them all, but it's the timing of a save at the right time that really gave the team in front of you credit or confidence, and I think he did that for us an awful lot of times, and I think that's what made him special, and that's what everybody wanted him to do well, because he was such a good guy not only in the locker room, but what he did on the ice as well.
Well, honestly, 30 years at Hockey Night in Canada. He talks about you two all the time. Really lovely to have you two talk about him. Thank you both, Bernie and Coley.
Thanks, Ron. We're gonna miss him. Gonna miss him.